Call is
This
now
is
being
Global
recorded.
Tel-Link. You have a prepaid call from
Silas Johnson.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel-Link.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Silas.
Hey, what's up, James?
Hey, how's it going? Just wanted to let you know we are currently live and we're ready to run it.
All right. Let's do it.
So the last time we spoke, you had walked us through your or part of your experience in prison, and I think the last part we left off at was I think you were in either Kern Valley or Salinas Valley, and you had poked up somebody 28 times. Do you want to go ahead and take it from there?
Yeah, sure. Actually, it was Kern Valley in 2007. My cellmate and I had participated in an attempted murder on another cat, and as a result of that, both of us were sent to the hole. And once we were found guilty of our 115s, we were put on the bus. He was shipped back to Tehachapi Shoe, and I was sent to Corcoran Shoe in April 2008.
And how was the experience once you got to Corcoran?
Man, Corcoran Shoe is unlike any other place on the planet, man. Like, I don't know if that place is built on the Indian burial ground like Poltergeist or what. Like, I mean, it's just a chamber of just bad things that happen. Yeah, it was my experience there. I was there from April 2008 till June 2013, and Corcoran Shoe was a wild ride. I mean, it's just controlled movement everywhere. I mean, you're handcuffed or shackled, I mean, in a jumpsuit, and you're just escorted from one cage to the next. Visiting is a cage where there's, glass is separating you from your visitor, for an hour. You're locked in there. Medical is a cage. You wait in the cage before you see the doctor. The yard cage is a giant kennel cage that you go out there and have yard where there's a sink in the toilet. Your cell is obviously a cage. Yeah, I mean, it's just controlled movement everywhere you go, and it's very little human contact. I mean, unless you have a cellmate or you're fishing on the tier and talking to different individuals in the building or outside the yard at the cages, but it's just the definition of untethered. I mean, you just adrift.
And during this time while you're there, are you receiving any type of visits? Are your family members, possibly a friend or two, writing to you? What's your situation with contact from the outside?
I was receiving visits from my mother and my cousins. They were coming to see me. Writing, besides my father and my brother, there was very little contact with the outside world. I mean, I had a couple of ex-girlfriends write me maybe, a couple of times within those years, but that was pretty much it as far as my contact with the outside world.
And what was your daily routine while you were there? Were you working out, reading books, writing? How do you maintain busy? Are you allowed a TV set? Do you have a Walkman or a CD player? Anything to kind of take you out of that place for a few hours a day?
We're allowed televisions back there, so you can have either or. You can have a television or a radio. I mean, obviously most people choose their radio because the SHU is long-term confinement. You're going to be back there for years. So you do have that. When I first went back there was no personal clothing. So the only clothing that you had would be your thermal top and bottoms and a jumpsuit and your boxers and t-shirt. They just barely created regulations before I left in, I think, 2011-ish, to where you could have, your sweats back there and your shorts and your tennis shoes and, everything is state back there before. And so the routine consists pretty much of, you have to develop some type of routine or schedule back there because the monotony will just drive you nuts. So my routine.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
My routine consisted of waking up at around approximately 5 o'clock, getting up, brushing my teeth, washing my face, cleaning my cell, and by about 5:30, start working out. Work out until 30 minutes, 40 minutes. 6 o'clock, they come unlock the trade slots in the morning. So a couple minutes after that, I'll be bird bathing, and you eat breakfast around like 6:30. And so the rest of the day is pretty much either reading, watching television, or writing. And off days, you have yard like maybe 3 times a week. So you get taken out to a cage where, you get to hang out with the fellas and work out there some more. But, the stimulation is minimal. I mean, you have to create your own world back there, which is why I began writing back there.
And are you able to receive, like, if somebody would have set you up for like a subscription for magazines or books or anything of that nature, would they have been able to send you those type of materials in the mail?
Yeah, you could get, as far as magazines, you were able to receive subscriptions. So mostly a lot of the fellas back there shared magazine subscriptions and newspaper subscriptions. Books, it was kind of like periodical. We were able to receive them, but they'd hold them up at R&R, and maybe once a month they come just deliver all of them. And we were allowed to get books. Obviously, being back there as being the corporate SHU, they scrutinize like a lion's share of the reading material. So I mean, if there was anything remotely similar to anti-authority or counterculture, you were not receiving those books, and they were giving you a note, and you could either donate it, destroy it, or pay for it to get sent back home.
And while you're back there, you're sharing books and whatnot with your people. How was the interactions with the other races? Were you allowed, or did you guys share any books or anything of that nature?
We did. It's ironic because a lot of the violence that put us all back there in ADSEG and then subsequently the SHU, was motivated by politics, whether it be over money or ethnicity. And you go back there and everyone is back there, living together, programming together, and helping each other and assisting each other. And it was really a trip. It was eye-opening to go back there and see, like, after, experiencing the strife that I did in society with Southern Mexicans and in prison, going back to the SHU where we're all back there up against it, and there's a sense of camaraderie that you build with these men back there, and it was empowering, and it was eye-opening, but it also made me sad because I saw what we could be and how we were failing by going back to what we knew.
So in essence, at that level of confinement, it seems like everybody has like a an understanding of what the struggle is, while they're in there, and their like their feelings or whatever they're taught when they're in lower levels is kind of put a little bit to the side, somewhat.
Absolutely. I mean, like I've said it more than once. Corcoran shoe is the floor that you can't fall below. And picture yourself locked in a dungeon with no light, with your worst enemy. You know, you're gonna you're gonna find some commonalities, and you're gonna come together. Like there's no choice. There's no choice, and when you're up against it and you're struggling on the same plateau with individuals who you thought was so different from you, you come to understand that we're not all that different. I mean, we come from the same impoverished communities. We grew up in the same neighborhoods. We went to the same schools. We went through the same pipeline to prison with each other. And you realize that what we're fighting for is is table scraps. We're fighting over table scraps. Because the people who really control things are removed from all of the struggles that we're under. And I mean, if you're studious enough, then you see it, and you wake up, and you aspire to do more with yourself.
I've seen I think a few videos in the past where it seems like something happened. I think maybe like in the 70s, where everything kind of changed as far as like the streets.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I think during that time, blacks and Hispanics got along a lot more freely, and they were intermingle, and so there was some change. I'm not sure what caused that change, where it just seemed like it was taboo, like in neighborhoods that were, I would say, co-ed neighborhoods, that, or I'm not sure if I'm using the right word, but there would be neighborhoods where both races were part of the same neighborhood, and it just seems like overnight, like they may have to make a decision what side they were going to go on, and they split. So I'm not sure. Do you have any insight on that? What caused the split? Have you heard any like theories, or has anybody ever talked about it? Maybe like some older gentlemen that were black, if that makes any sense.
I never really, I never really got any backstory as far as the catalyst for the division between black and Latinos, particularly in the Los Angeles area, because I can only speak to that area. I never got any backstory. I know that during my formative years and as a teenager, I grew up, I mean, side by side, black, Mexican, every ethnicity. I mean, I'm from Pacoima, so I mean, there's nothing but blacks and Mexicans there, and there was there was no issues between the gangs in that area, or even the kids in that area. I mean, and it just devolved. I mean, there was incident after incident, and I think that there was just different incidents that just snowballed until it was just a thing where it was just like it turned into just adversarial. So I don't think it was one specific thing. I do know of a couple instances where businesses, business deals were done, and and things, things went wrong with that, and violence passed with that, and
You have 60 seconds remaining.
but as far as being able to put my finger on the pulse of what the direct impetus of all of the strife that's been going on over the years, like, and I'm at a loss.
Yeah, that makes two of us. I can't. That definitely leaves me scratching my head. I
Yeah,
know.
it don't make any sense.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I know the call is about to cut off. If you want to go ahead and just call me back before she pulls the cord on us, and we'll go ahead and continue the interview. I do have a question. Once you come back, one of our guests here, or one of our watchers is asking and wants to know.
Okay, absolutely. I'll call her back.
All right, perfect. Thank you. And I want to go ahead and thank everybody that's currently watching this video live. And I do see a question in there from El Iceman, so I'll go ahead and ask that once he calls back. And cue both to everybody here. All right, Aquatic Amigo. I'll make sure I'll ask him that right now as soon as he comes. There he is.
This call is now being recorded.
This is Global Tellink. You have a prepaid call from
Silas Johnson.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tellink.
Okay, thank you for calling me back. And
All right.
so the first question I have is from El Iceman, and it's up to you. It's up to you whether you want to answer this question or not. But he's asking.
Okay.
I watched most of his Silas's 15-minute videos. I don't recall if he mentioned whether while out on the streets. I guess he thinks that you're in YA, or that you went to YA, but you didn't go to YA, right?
No, just
Okay.
can't.
So he wants to know. So whether while out on the streets or in YA, if he ran with the Crips or the Bloods. Just curious.
I ran with the Bloods when I was in society and for the lion's share of the time that I was in prison. I really don't, get into all of the neighborhood and the particulars, because that really is not why I'm on this platform. I'm not here to exalt any of gangland culture, although I have a lot of connections with people who are still in that life, and I don't look at them any differently. I've just made a decision to go in a different direction with my life, and so I like to keep the focus on moving forward as opposed to looking back.
Thank you for answering that, and a good answer. The next question is going to be from Aquatic Amigo, and he wants to know: have you ever eaten at Key's Burger across the street from Maclay Junior High School back in the days in Pacoima?
I've eaten at Keys more times than I can count, man. That's right there, man. That's the heart. That's the heart, man. That's the heart of the city right there. Absolutely. Keys, shoestrings on Arleta and Van Nuys. Man, the burrito stand right there on San Fernando and Van Nuys. I'm all over that place.
And let me ask you something. So right now, I heard like the joy in your voice. I'm assuming you're reminiscing, and it brought back some
This
good
call
memories.
and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And it brought some good memories from eating at that burger stand. What's like the first thought when you heard that burger stand's name? What was the first thought that popped into your mind?
Man, home. My grandparents moved to Lakeview Terrace first, and then bought a home in Pacoima, like while my dad was a kid, and they grew up in the home that we have, and my brothers and I grew up in the home that we have, and so Pacoima and in the San Fernando Valley at large is home. When I think of any place out there, I'm reminded of memories that I have out there. Like I have a lot of good memories out there, a lot of fun times, and good people, and some not so fun times, and and hard times and tragedy, and but all of it is a part of the story. And when I think of Keys, or the Pacoima projects, or the Pierce, like I think of home. That's home.
Thank you for that. And let me see. So he has another question. He's asking if you know a gentleman named Cash Jones, WAC 100.
Yeah, I went to Lawrence Junior High with Cash. I went to Lawrence Junior High with Cash. I know him. I haven't seen him and talked to him in years, but I know him. I know who he is.
All right, and that question was also from Aquatic Amigo. He put, "I grew up in Pacoima, so I know what he's talking about." And then he also put, and then the other gentleman that asked the question about which set you ran with, he said, "I understood," and with two exclamation marks. And then Aquatic Amigo puts, I'm proud of this gentleman. He's doing right and good, much respect to him." And then let me see.
Appreciate that, man.
And then he also
Appreciate
put,
that, man. Respect.
and I'm not sure what this means. I'm sure you'll know what this next one means. He says he's from the NAMS, NAMS.
Noms.
Okay, no. And then he also put short string chili cheese fries.
That's right.
So yeah, he is from this area. And then he also put, I don't know if he knows Baby Sam from the West Side. That's one of my good friends growing up. Unfortunately, he passed away a few months ago.
Yeah, I know Baby Sam. Yeah, I was sorry to hear about that too.
And then he also put, Aquatic Amigo put, some parts of Pacoima, there's a lot of black and brown love. You know what? I'm totally oblivious to that, because I'm from LA. So, I did go to the Valley as a kid. My dad used to live up there. He used to live in San Fernando, but I only ran across, predominantly Hispanics. I don't recall ever any interactions with any blacks out there. But just it's a trip. Just one city over, and it was a whole different world. The whole different culture out there that a lot of us weren't privy to.
Yeah, like the Valley is a crazy and wonderful place, man. You could grow up in Pacoima, and a lot of people that I know, they really didn't venture from that area, from San Fernando, Silmore, Pacoima. But I mean, you got Northridge, you got Canoga Park, you got North Hollywood, Van Nuys, Sun Valley. There Granada Hills. There's Chatsworth. You got so many different places in the valley where, Encino Hills. Hitting. There's so many different places. Porter Ranch, where, you go from one area and there's poverty, there's abject poverty and projects, and then you go 20 minutes and you got $1 million homes, in Porter Ranch or Encino. So it's really, really a mixed place, as far as the ethnic demographic and the socioeconomic demographic. And it always made growing up there an interesting place.
Yeah, it sounds like it, and I'm glad, you agreed to, share your story with us, because I would have never known none of this, I would have been, living in my own fantasy world where there wasn't any blacks in the valley, and that turns out not to be true.
Yeah, man. out there, man. Man, the valley is a melting pot.
All right, so that's it for the questions now, and then we could go ahead and continue with your journey here. Do you want to go ahead and
Okay.
take over the mic?
Yeah, sure. So after about nearly a year in corporate shoe, I moved over to the group yard building, which was 4A 4A4 left, and shortly after we had an incident with the Northern Mexicans, a riot on the yard, and which was a really crazy experience, and it just exemplifies how just the absurdity of prison life, and in the incident that caused it. And so luckily, it was just fist fights, no weapons, just a 7 on 6. No one really got hurt. A couple people got bloodied up, but hey, after that, they just pretty much just spread all of us out to the wind, and I went from 4A to 4B, 4B to right. And I spent about 9 months over there before getting into a confrontation with a cellmate and stabbing him in the cell. And so I got another 24-month shoe added on to the 36-month shoe that I was serving, and was classified as single cell. And this was in June 2009, which I'm still single cell all of these years later. For that, 14 years later, and I was transferred to 4B2 left and served approximately the last 3 years of my shoe in corporate shoe, and that's really when things pretty much began to change for me. I was in the cell by myself, and I'd been running around the prison system, impulsive, angry, committing violence, and it was the first time that I was alone, where I didn't have a cellmate to bounce silly ass ideas off of. I didn't have the influence of outside perception, and I had to sit alone with my thoughts. And I had to begin to ask myself some serious questions, and the first was why I was so angry. And I didn't really understand why I was as angry as I was, and why I was so quick to commit violence and harm other people. And so I had to do some serious soul searching and inventory on my thoughts and my feelings and my actions, and to just go back to the root of everything, of my story, and relive all of the traumatic experiences that I did, as a youth during my formative years, and the violence that I saw committed on my contemporaries as a teen and into young adulthood, which, with the violence that I committed, which led me into prison, and me continuing to perpetuate that violence during my time in here. And I found that I didn't know a lot about myself. I didn't know a lot about myself. I didn't know my wants, my desires. I didn't know what made me happy. I didn't know what I was trying to do with this whole gang thing. The only thing that I knew is that I was serving a 24 to life sentence, and I'd given up the opportunity to raise my daughter. I'd given up the opportunity to be a son, to be a brother, and to be a physical presence in my family. And in my mind, the gang and prison politics was all that I had left. And so
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I had been leaning into that reality. And it was the first time that I had the opportunity to ask myself that even if I was going to spend the rest of my life in prison, being transferred from one cage to the next, one prison yard to the next, did I want to live my life like that? And the answer was no. But I had gone so far down that road that I really didn't have the tools and the coping skills to climb out of the hole that I dug myself in. And so what I began to do was just write. I wrote everything. If I was feeling something, I wrote it down. If I was thinking something, I wrote it down. Um, if I had a question about something in the world, I would write it down. It just writing just became an integral part of who I was, and in that process, I began writing poetry. And writing poetry was just a form of catharsis for me. It helped me exercise all of the negative emotions and the violent thoughts and
You have 60 seconds remaining.
the loneliness and just the anxiety, everything that I was feeling. And it just became a coping mechanism for me as opposed to being violent. Because up until that point, I didn't have a sophisticated way of communicating or processing my emotions besides violence. Violence was my go-to for everything. If I was embarrassed, I was violent. If I was sad, I was violent. If I was angry, I was violent. If I was lonely, violence was just a way for me to cover up all of the internal chaos that I had been feeling.
And this is like these 15 minutes just fly by, and by the time I know it, she's already announcing the 60-second mark. And if you want to go ahead and call me back, and then we'll go ahead and continue. And I just want to go ahead and thank everybody for the questions they're asking. These are some pretty good questions, and just keep them coming. And I'll go ahead and ask him as we progress through his interview. He should be calling me back shortly, and as soon as he does, I'll go ahead and connect the call.
This call is
This
now
is
being
Global
recorded.
Tel-Link. You have a prepaid call from
Silas Johnson.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel-Link.
Thank you for calling me back. And I just thought about a question. So you mentioned that you stabbed your cellie, and
Right.
you didn't mention why, what occurred and what transpired in that cell for you to stab your cellie. But let me ask you, if you would have been on the street, would you have stabbed would you have stabbed your cellie if you guys were in the street and whatever transpired in that cell, would that have been enough on the street to stab him? If you were out in the street and you guys were hanging out and then not in prison?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No. It was something. It was carryover from the riot on the shoe group yard, and it was something that I didn't have to address personally, and it was just me power thrusting, me exalting myself, and in my gang identity, you know, saying that I'm this person, and just inserting myself in something that was already taken care of, and just me just being just angry, and it was just an excuse. He was there, and it was an excuse for me to let my anger and violence and pain out on somebody, and that's what I did, and unfortunately he paid the price for it.
And this incident, it happened inside the cell or somewhere else in the facility? Where did it take place?
No, I was actually in the cell with someone else, with my cellmate, that we were on the group yard in the melee together. And he had moved with me over to 4B, and I was actually in the group yard cages, and the individual and I, we had discord, we had a disagreement, and it escalated. And so when I went back into the building, we were going to showers, and I armed myself, went in the showers, and manipulated the COs by telling them that my cellmate and I weren't getting along, because I knew that that's how I could get the move done, and I moved over in the cell with him and stabbed him.
And how does one acquire a weapon at this level yard? Isn't it supposed to be like the most secure or one of the most secure facilities in California? How do you get a weapon? How do you manufacture a weapon?
You can make a weapon out of anything. Anything is a weapon if you make it a weapon. But there's metal floating around. I mean, what I used is pretty pretty big as far as security preventive measures. I mean, there are security measures that they take back there, but I mean, where there's a will, there's a way. If you want it, then you're gonna get it, and if you're serious about getting it done, you're gonna do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I mean, if that incident transpired, then yeah, where there's a will, definitely a way.
Yeah, there were approximately 6 or 7 people that were murdered back there while I was in Corcoran Shoe, and they weren't getting beat to death.
And when you stabbed or when you stabbed him, were you planning to kill him, or if it happened, it happened? What was your mind frame at that exact moment?
I honestly didn't care. I honestly didn't care. I went in there with the intentions of murdering him, and it just so happened that when the incident occurred, when I laid into him, he didn't have any fight, and that kind of brought me back out of the crazy, the madness that I was doing. And so after that, I let him exit the cell, and the COs came. They took him out and took him to the hospital, and that was that. But I went in there with intentions to kill him.
Well, he got lucky. Good thing he wasn't like the other guy that got knocked out, and he got it pretty bad.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's unfortunate, and I don't, I obviously I feel very remorseful right now for enacting violence. So not just him, but just everybody that I've victimized. I mean, throughout this journey, I've hurt a lot of people, and it's one of the reasons why I'm living my life the way I am now. Because I know that I have a responsibility to be better, and not just be better, but to pay it forward and to make someone else's suffering a little bit less on this planet. So that's why I do the things that I do now, because I know that I have a real debt, and not just in the sense of a prison sentence or serving time. I mean, I have a moral obligation and a moral debt for the harm that I've committed.
And I'm gonna go ahead and salute you for that, because not anybody is willing to take the steps that you're actively taking. And I actually have 2 questions right here that I'm pretty sure you could definitely help out
This
with.
call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
So the first question is gonna be from Aquatic Amigo, and he's asking, is there any way for me to help this gentleman with anything, or maybe he can help me with mental health? We are out here, but we also have problems.
Yeah, as far as I'm open to dialoguing with anyone and helping them out, as much as I can. I mean, I'm not a clinician by any means. I only have an AA degree in psychology, so I got about 4 more to 6 more years of school before that happens. But I'm definitely willing to reach out and to have people contact me and you know to fellowship and to lend whatever assistance that I can, whether it be a conversation, whether it be my time. I mean, that's what I'm about. That's who I am, and I absolutely would be open to conversating and you know and building with people out there to try and make a difference and make an impact. As far as mental health, um, I think a lot of us are going through similar struggles. Like, and I really don't think that it's singular to people in prison or people in society. I think the world is a scary, crazy, lonely, sad place right now, and I think that it all of us, you know, this is an inflection point for all of us to look within ourselves and ask ourselves who we want to be as people and what kind of impact do we want to leave on this planet, and you know what it is that we want to do, what's the work that we want to do while we're here. You know, so I would just encourage anybody out there, if you're in a job that just has you being a beast of burden and you're not finding any joy, change your mind. You have a right to change your mind. Do something else. If you're in a relationship that's not bringing you any joy, and you're just settling, if you're just in it, I mean, you have a right to change your mind. Do something else. Give it up. You know, I mean, life is real short. You know, why not spend your life doing the things that lift you up and build you and give you a sense of joy and meaning and purpose? You know, I would just implore everybody to just, you know, seize your right now. You know, make your forever right now and get yours.
And I'm gonna go ahead and put this out here. As far as reaching out to you, if they do want to reach out to you, it's very simple. All they have to download or go to the App Store, whether it's the Apple App Store or the Play Store, the Google Play Store, and all they have to do is search for an app called Getting Out by GTL, and they could be in contact with you today within minutes. They just download the app. I think they have to load $10 into their account, and then they could send you pictures. They could send you messages. They could send you videos. They could send you greeting cards. There's a few different options that they could use, you know, to communicate with you, and it's, to me, it's affordable. I mean, compared to the way GTL had their collect calls before, and the way they have it set up in other states. So right here in California, if you want to reach out to either a friend, loved one, or whatnot, if you just want to reach out to somebody, every time you send a message, it's 5 cents. So $10 should probably last you like a year, and I think it's a lot cheaper than actually corresponding through the mail, because right now I think a stamp is like 66 cents or something. So you're gonna pay like $13-14 for a book of stamps, which has 20 stamps, which will, you know, equal 20 letters. But with $10, you could type up to 2,000 characters, and it's instant. You don't have to wait, you know, to go to that mailbox. It's at your fingertips. Everybody has a cell phone now, or a computer, or tablet or whatnot. So it's really easy. If you do want to get, you know, in contact with him, his booking number and name is on the screen, scrolling on the top. Download that app, and man, you could be getting help ASAP, like by tonight. And
Man, you spit that like GTL is sponsoring us.
Oh, you know, I that's one company I don't really care for, but you know what? When it comes to this tablets now and the communication now, you know, my hat, and I'm pretty sure they didn't do this willingly. I'm pretty sure there was some lawsuits and whatnot for them to actually, you know, reduce the prices. Because I remember at one point, I don't know if the calls per minute, they were like a quarter or 50 cents, and you know, you would burn through that money real quick. And I know, like, maybe either a year or two ago they had to adjust their prices, and now the calls are like cents now, or now, sorry, even like I think last year they started with the free phone calls. So you don't, you could reach out to whoever you want now. If you have people out on the streets, before you had to worry, or your family had to worry about, how they were, whether they were going to eat, put gas in their car, or pay for phone calls. So now they don't even have to make that
But
decision. So it is helping out, tremendously. I'm pretty sure they didn't do it by their own accord, but it is
oh
what it
no,
is. Yeah.
absolutely. And their business model is ingenious. I mean, you figure 5 cents a text, 5 cents a video, 5 cents a photo. I mean, you know, multiply that by what, under 100,000 prisoners in 100,000 residents in the state of California. I mean, just myself alone. I mean, I text just back and forth. I mean, just to,
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
years and years ago with the cell phone, the texting wasn't unlimited. Am I correct? You had to pay like per text, correct?
That is correct. My plan is, I have one of those older plans. My plan is like 20 years old, so I still pay for texting, but I pay that extra $10 to get the unlimited plan.
Okay. Now, just imagine. I mean, they're literally nickel and diming everyone, and I mean, it's affordable. It's cost effective for each individual, but when you put the numbers together on a macro scale, they're still realizing a handsome profit. So the business model is ingenious, and it makes it affordable for each and every resident here to maintain communication. So, I mean, like you said, hey, my hat's off to them. I respect the judge.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
want in. I'm trying to get in.
Man, whoever came up with
You have
that,
60 seconds remaining.
whoever came up with JPay and these systems, man, they're living lovely right now.
Oh yeah, they on the island somewhere.
I hope so. And then I have another one. Also, El Iceman wants to know, ask him which courses he took or takes helping him speak clearly and articulate.
Okay. Let me call right back because it's gonna time out right now.
Perfect. All right, cool. I'll be here waiting.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and say it again. I really appreciate you guys participating. You guys are the ones that are gonna make this or help this channel grow. I mean, with your help, I wouldn't be able to do it without the gentlemen that are sharing their stories, and you guys, the audience. All this is going hand in hand, and you guys are gonna help this message be pushed out to the masses and get us into the algorithm. So I really appreciate you guys, helping out, listening, and everybody's doing their part here. So he should be calling back shortly. Unfortunately, these calls are cut off after 15 minutes, but he's here he is.
This call is now being
This is
recorded.
Global Tel Link. You have a prepaid call from
Silas Johnson.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
All right, and thank you for calling us back. Before you answer that question, I just wanted to throw this out there. I did put out, I typed up a comment right now, and I put out, in that comment I put the app they could download, which is the GTL Getting Out app, and I also put your booking number. So pretty much all they would have to do is download the app, set up their account with their email and their other details and whatnot, and then you can actually you would select what state you want to add the inmate from, what country, what state, and then it's gonna ask you for the inmate's booking number. You put that in, you hit OK, and then as soon as you hit OK, the inmate's gonna have direct access to you. So they're gonna your information or name and whatnot is gonna be added onto their tablet, and then as soon as somebody adds you, right, you could see them even before they send you a message, right, Silas?
Right. I think you have to look and put the prison. You would have to put like
Yeah,
Nelly. You have to scroll down and find the prison. But
yeah.
after that, yeah, absolutely.
As soon as they do all of that, they put your CDC number on our end. Your name will come up, or a part of your name will come up. The other half will be blocked off, and then we hit OK. And I think as soon as we hit OK, like on your site, on your list, that person's name is gonna be visible. So you're gonna be able to tell that somebody
Right.
added you to their contacts. So you
Right.
get that person's information on your account, and then that particular person, they'll also be able to see your name on there. So once they do all of that, then they could click on your name, and then it's pretty much like a texting app. You could, as soon as you hit write a message, it'll ask you whether you want to write a text message. If you want to send a video, the videos could be 30 seconds long, and they have to be under 100 megabytes. They could send you a picture, and then or they could send you like a greeting card, or there's a few little options on there. I might be missing one of them, but once they type up a message, they'll send it, and then they have. I'm assuming they have like some type of automatic system which clears the message. So as long as there's not any keywords in there, you don't want to say like certain like words. I'm not sure what those words are, but just be careful what words you put on there, because if not, the message might get held up, and then a human's gonna have to
This
review it.
call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
A human might need to review that message, and they're going to determine whether they're going to clear it or not. Opposed to if you just put a clean message, you submit it, and it normally get cleared within seconds. And then once it gets cleared immediately, the particular person you're contacting will receive it. They'll get a notification on their end, and you could also see if they're online or not. So if they're online, it'll show a green dot that they're currently on their tab. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're using the texting app. They might be like watching videos, or going through the Lexus app, or whatever they're doing on the app. So, and then they could reply to you whenever whenever they have a free moment. So with that, then I'll go ahead and hand it back to you. And if you need me to read off that question, because maybe I talked too much and you forgot about it, I'll be more than happy to read it back.
No, I remember. Yeah, I have to attribute my vernacular to my dad. My father was, he was a stickler for enunciating and presenting sophisticated and intelligently. So I'd have to say that my dad was my greatest influence. I mean, I've always been an avid reader, and I've always been just a linguist buff. I'm obsessed with mastering the English language. So as a writer, I mean, it's just a part of who I am. I took public speaking in Imperial Valley College. I took English composition and just a slew of different classes. But to answer your question, I'm mostly home training, and I'm self-taught. So I got to thank my dad for that.
I have I'll go ahead and throw my 2 cents on that one. I have heard or listened to podcasts where people say that they'll have a dictionary, and they'll just find the word in the dictionary, and they'll find some way to incorporate that word in their daily routine, and every day they add a new different word and that's how they're able to expand their vocabulary. So that might be something that maybe you could use to start using different words to express yourself, or to communicate.
Absolutely. I mean, the best way to expand your vocabulary is by reading, and reading and applying, your diction to your everyday conversations. I mean, and just be mindful and be watchful. I mean, I guess it was like last year, I learned a brand new word from watching Judge Judy, ecumenical. She said, and like I was like, well, what is that? I went and got my dictionary and read it, and so I mean that's pretty much how, how you come across different ways of expressing yourself. I listen to a lot of different conversations, and whether it's my conversations with people in society or people in here, and they just profanity laced, just dialogues, and I mean, hey, if that you like it, I love it. I just think that we can be more than what we are, and just as an individual, I want to communicate in a manner that's effective, and I think to do that, you have to actually be imaginative in your speech.
And that's a good point right there too. Like as far as myself, I'm not really comfortable doing public speaking and public readings. That those are my probably some of my weak weak points, I would say. Up until a few months ago, maybe like within the last 90 days, I've been practicing, speaking in public. And I find that that helps you. And I listen back, I play back my recordings, and I notice I say certain words, or I guess they call them like filler words. So normally, like when you go or like, or what I'm saying, those, if you record yourself, you play back those recordings, and you could improve the way you speak. So every day that passes, I'm consciously, trying to make a conscious decision of what words I choose before I speak, or I try to stop with the filler words. It's not gonna happen overnight. You're gonna have to do it, day in and day out, every day, and one day, I'm sure you will be able to expand your vocabulary.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, so
And thank you for that question. That was a really good question, by the way.
and this is a great point that I want to make is you're in prison, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we need to speak about prison all day. There's a slew of things that we could speak to that are not prison related. That I'm pretty sure you have your point of view, and I have my point of view, and we could share with the world. Only because you're in prison doesn't stop you being able to share your ideas,
Right.
or your thoughts. We live in a world right now where technology rules everything. And if you could think it up, your computer could probably do it. Even your cell phone could do it. So
Right.
we do live in very interesting times right now. And I'm glad to be here and be part of it, and see the change, and all the great possibilities that are at our fingertips.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, and
By
then
no means am I a master at public speaking. I got a final for art design tomorrow, and I'm sweating.
but it's funny because I'm not big on either it's public speaking or speaking. But with this whole YouTube thing, like I've really pushed myself to the limit, to get me out of my shell, get me out of my comfort zone, if you will.
Yeah.
And my wife's, she's making comments on the the change in me. Like if normally, like I normally keep my feelings inside, and bottled up, and now I'm a little bit more willing to share my thought, or what I'm thinking, or if I have an idea for like YouTube, I'll go ahead and share with her, like, hey, like I have this idea, what do you think? And a lot of times she'll tell me that I'll see her face, and I'm like, you don't like it, huh? And then she'll be like, no, and I was like, you know what? Uh, I'm gonna go with it, because normally when you tell me you don't like something, the masses will like it. You won't like it, but the other people will, and then she'll be surprised. I'll do it, and she'll be like, "Wow, you were right." Like it worked.
only here for a little bit of time, and you might as well say what you need to say, and and take all your chances, take all your shots, man. And like you said, I mean, we live in the age of information right now, and I'm seeing more and more with each passing day. The only limit is your imagination,
Yeah, like right now you're currently there, but one day you're gonna come home and with this
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
with this platform, you're getting your name out there. So when you come home, you can even do something like this yourself, and I hope you're planning to do something like this because you already
Oh, absolutely.
you already got
Absolutely.
you got a head start already from everybody else. Like people are listening to your stories, and if you do, you do come home and you decide to do that, then I'll help you out as much as I can, and promote you as much as I can.
Absolutely. I plan to continue working with you when I come home. This is going to continue. This is going to be a continuum.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you want, we could go ahead and continue with your story. I'm not sure if you're pressed for time right now. I'm not sure if you got anything, homework or any other plans. If you don't, we could go ahead and keep on with your journey. If not, we could end it as soon as this call ends, and then we could continue either tomorrow or on the weekend. It's totally up to you how you want to, move forward.
We could continue. I got a presentation to prepare for, but I'm gonna be burning the midnight oil. I'm up no matter what.
Okay. All right. Cool. Then let's run it then.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, where we left off. I was talking about just the inflection point that I had arrived at in corporate shoe, and this was probably 2010, around 2010, and like I said, I begun writing, and with no intention of publishing anything. I mean, I was just writing for therapy and to just try and hold on to the sanity that I left after all of these years. And so I was doing that, and slowly but surely I was beginning to, get to know myself a little better through my writing. Amazingly enough, and but there was still like something missing in me. There was still like a part of me that I couldn't heal, and it was in large part due to
You have 60 seconds remaining.
due to the guilt and the overwhelming sense of loneliness that I felt, because when you examine yourself and you look at all of the harm you've done, and you come to the conclusion that that you've not been a good human being, then what are you left with? And so it was pretty hard to dig out of the depression that put me in, and I don't know if I think I should call back because it is just going to time out right now.
Absolutely. We'll be here waiting for you. We currently got 6 people listening to your story, so we got a few pair of ears.
Okay.
All right, and if you're just joining us right now, these calls automatically cut off in about 15 minutes from the point I accept the call. So that's just what happened right now. He'll go ahead and give us a call back in the next few moments, and then he'll go ahead and continue with his story. And he's currently in, I believe, in the shoe, and he's writing, and then at some point he ends up publishing a book. I share the name of the book and a link to the book. I think on the last upload I did. And give me a moment.
This call is now being
This
recorded.
is Global Tel-Link. You have a prepaid call from
Silas Johnson.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Okay, Silas. Before you go on, I just want to go ahead and read these comments that I totally overlooked. So Aquatic Amigo put thanks bro, I appreciate it. And then El Iceman puts thank you, and Aquatic Amigo put wow, that's a great idea. And then El Iceman puts you can be free in prison and be a prisoner in the streets.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you for that. And yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, your mind can be a cage. Yeah. I mean, I tell people all the time, like, I've been in prison 22 and a half years, and this is the freest that I've ever felt in my entire life. I mean, obviously, I don't have my physical freedom, but my mental, my emotional, and my spiritual freedom, like, I'm free, and my physical freedom is just a reality waiting to happen because of who I've become. And I know that you can be out there in the world in society and still be suffering and still go through hardships and addiction, depression, and anger, and just all of the things that are just a part of being human. And yeah, I absolutely do believe that you can be free physically and be a prisoner spiritually or mentally.
Thank you for that. And then she cut you off, so I'm gonna go ahead and hand off the mic to you, and you could go ahead and continue with your journey.
Okay. Yeah, so it's 2010 Corcoran shoe, and I made a little bit of progress, but I was going through just a real deep depression at the time. A friend of mine had passed away, and my godmother had passed away, and so I'm just wallowing in it. And so this is July 2010, and I'm sitting there in the cell. For those of you who aren't familiar, Corcoran Shoe is unlike any other prison in California in that they have bedrock beds. And what I mean by that is the beds are concrete and about maybe close to 3 feet high, and they have a causeway, a little walkway between the beds, and there are two lockers that are carved in stone that are about as big as a moving box. You have two of them on each side, and there's a concrete slab that's, I guess, supposed to serve as a desk, and a window adjacent to it in the middle of it, going up the wall. So I'm sitting there watching television, and it's the 4th of July. There's some kind of special on whatever channel I'm watching. They're doing fireworks, and so I'm looking at it, and I just shut off the TV, and it's just pitch black in my cell. And I go to the back window, and I'm right at Tower 9, and I look out the window, and beyond the horizon, there are fireworks in two different places. I mean, just, I don't know if this is Hanford. Hanford is the next city closest to Corcoran, so I'm assuming either it's Corcoran or Hanford. And so I'm just sitting there for 2 hours watching these fireworks. And at that point, I hadn't had a visit in maybe a year, and mentally, I had gotten to the point where it was like nothing else in the world outside of prison existed. The only thing that existed was prison. And seeing those fireworks off in the horizon, it reinstilled hope in me. It affirmed the fact that there were still people out there in the world who were dreaming, going to school, making love, having their hearts broken, going to work. And it just affirmed to me that there was actually a life to be lived still, and that if I fought for it, that I could have that life as well again. And so this turned into kind of a ritual for me from 2010, 2011, 2012. Every 4th of July, I would sit there at the back of the cell and look out the window and watch the fireworks show for 2 to 3 hours for however long they ran it. And it seems like something small, but to see that little bit of life in a place so dark, I can't even explain to you what it meant to me in those moments.
Sorry, I had to unmute
Oh,
the computer.
okay. Yeah, so after that, I go to the ASU in 2013, which is ASIG, and wait for a few months and get transferred back to Kern Valley in June of 2013. And when I get there, not all of the work that I had done on myself, but a lot of it is undone because I get right back into the environment with individuals who had seen and been there when I committed this horrific act of violence. And so now I'm coming back to a hero's welcome of sorts. And because everyone knows who I am now from the violence that I committed
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
in Salinas Valley and in Corcoran Shoe. And so I'm looked at with a little bit of reverence, and I have a little bit of prestige amongst the gang circle. And so I get into education there, and I'm right back to doing what I was doing, you know, running phones, you know, talking on phones and communicating and getting back into the whole politics thing. And I actually suffered a little bit of anxiety when I got out of the shoe because I was so used to being alone and in under control movement that when I went to the yard and there were like almost 200 people in the yard, like I didn't know like how to act. Like it was just too much for me. It was kind of like sensory overload. And so at the beginning of my time back in general population, I stayed in the cell a lot because I just did not want to be around people. And I actually voted in my parole pack. The 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 interesting thing about my pathway to my GED is that I was placed in education under the threat of a write-up, and I had no intentions of completing anything. I just wanted to get out of there because I wasn't used to being around people. And so my intention when I went into education was just to malinger and just to loiter. And I ended up actually studying because I wanted to get out of the education department because I didn't want to be around people. And so I studied, and in 2014 I took the GED and I passed it and was removed from education. But a funny thing happened when I graduated at our ceremony. It became a lot more important to me, the accomplishment, than I thought it would. And it was the first time that I actually endeavored something, experienced difficulty, and persevered through it, and actually finished something. It was the first time in my
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
and it felt good. And so I made the decision that I would pursue higher education and enter into college. And I eventually did when I enrolled into Bakersfield College. And that was pretty much the beginning of my journey in academia. And 2015 was probably the worst year in here. 2015 in November, my father passed away. And I was actually on the verge of spiraling and going back into into all of the chaos that I've been involved in. But the thing that kept me from going back was actually my father's memory. And though I wasn't perfect and I still was using cell phones and still, on the fringes of gangland politics and involved, I was able to steer clear of it enough to get an override down to Centinela. And I came down here in 2017. And after getting into a scuffle and getting caught with a knife in November 2017, I went to the hole and did another shoe turn and got kicked out to B yard, where I ultimately got into Imperial Valley College and began my journey through IVC. And that was one of the most invigorating and fulfilling experiences of my life, to be in an environment of learning and to actually feel like I was in a college environment as opposed to just being a prisoner. That really did a lot of good for me.
And what courses are you taking, or have you taken to get your degree?
Wow. I've taken maybe 6 psychology courses. I've taken an introduction to addiction studies, sociology intro, sociology, marriage and family, counseling C105. Just a plethora of classes. But the major that I received an associate's degree in is psychology. I'm currently enrolled in San Diego State in an interdisciplinaries degree program, which is an emphasis on journalism, media, communications, and art design.
Thank you for answering that. And I do have a comment from Aquatic Amigo, and he put, rest in paradise for his father. I know how it is to lose a loved one. And he put the little praying hands.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. I really do. Yeah, it's difficult to lose a loved one in here. I was talking to one of my friends the other day, and I was telling him that, when you grieve in here, it's unlike any other grieving process because you're not able to be present with the family and mourn and go to the repast and the burial site and the visit a grave site. And so, in a lot of ways, your mourning, although you feel it and you go through the stages of grief, it's unresolved in a lot of ways because you're not able to fully experience the grieving process, and it feels like you're on pause in a lot of ways. And so, yeah, I have a tremendous amount of empathy. I mean, not just for people who have lost loved ones in here, but people in society, but particularly individuals who are incarcerated that have to go through these stages of grief in this environment. I mean, it's just really, really challenging.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine how I would deal with something like that if I was incarcerated, because you really don't have any avenues to actually deal with it, and who can you really talk to about going through something like that, where everybody's has their game face on and everybody's tough and nobody cries.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Those type of things. So I'm sure you went through a difficult time, and sorry you went through that.
Appreciate you. Yeah, the irony is that there is help available here. I think it's just about us opening up and being willing to access it. I mean, I talk to a clinician once every couple of months here just to check in and just for maintenance. I mean, I never thought that I would be telling anyone that I talked to a shrink, but I think I believe in the institution of psychology, and I believe in mental wellness and mental health. So I definitely would encourage anybody to try therapy.
Thank you for that. And I apologize, but my wife just came home. What I was gonna say, we'll go ahead and wait for him to call back. But after this call, I'm gonna be cutting, or maybe I'll be cutting this call short just because my wife and my daughter just got home right now, and I have a 4-year-old daughter, and she has a bunch of energy, so I gotta go ahead and do my duties and interact with her, before she goes to sleep. So we'll go ahead and talk for a bit longer, and then we'll go ahead and cut it off.
This call is now being recorded.
This is Global Tel Link. You have a prepaid call from
Silas Johnson.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Thank you for calling back, Silas. And
Absolutely.
I want to go ahead and mention something to you. So my wife and my daughter just came home a little bit ago. So this will be the last call for tonight, but we'll go ahead and continue. And then Aquatic Amigo put a comment here, and he said, I lost my son in 2020. It hurts every day. It's real tough. I cry almost every day.
Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry you're going through that. Yeah, I can't even imagine what that is. What that feels like. I mean, I lost my father, but parents are supposed to, pass away before their children, and yeah, I can't even imagine, what you're going through, and my heart goes out to you.
Let me ask you something about your father. You mentioned that he used to drive for the RTD, for the Rough, Tough, and Dangerous, and then when he continued working for them once they transitioned over to MTA. What route did he,
Right,
or what
absolutely.
division did he drive for?
He drove out of Chatsworth, and he drove for is that Sun Valley right there? I guess it would be right down the hill. Yeah, I guess it would be Sun Valley. Out of division right there, it's off of Glen Oaks. I guess that'd be Sun Valley right there.
Yeah,
Yeah, he drove out of those two divisions.
Okay, yeah. I used to get around on the bus a lot. That was my main form of transportation. I refused to get in a G ride because it was a felony, and I wasn't trying to go to YA over it.
Well, you were smarter than a lot of us.
On my criminal activity, I had a limit. There were certain things that I just wouldn't do. Violence wasn't one of them, and certain felonies I was not trying to get involved in because you catching it for those, and if you weren't caught on a YA, it was gonna be a bad ride, and I didn't want to experience any of that.
Yeah, yeah. You had a lot of foresight, man. You had a lot of foresight. That's what everybody needs to develop out there in here, in the self-help community, and in board prep and everything. We toss around the word insight a lot, which is learning, from your experiences and learning from your bad decisions, or maybe just an experience. That's all fine and dandy, but the key is to develop foresight. So you don't have a lot of bad experiences, so you can see something coming a mile away.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And not have to suffer a setback. Foresight rather, is watching someone else make a mistake, and you learning from that, and you not making the same bad decision.
Yeah, you know what? Right now on that, you're commenting on foresight. I even though I wouldn't cross certain lines, it even though when you're involved in things like that, sometimes things happen that are just out of your control. For instance, I remember this one time we were out of somewhere in the city, and we were in a store, and normally back then when you would walk into a store, they would normally make you leave your backpack in at the front counter, and
Right.
so we used to do a lot of shoplifting, so we would carry our backpacks around. So we didn't like we would leave our backpacks up at the front counter because we didn't need our backpacks to get that five finger discount when you're wearing size 50 Frisco Benz. You could stuff anything down your pants and it didn't matter. So while we're walking out of the store, we go up to the front counter and we ask them for our backpacks, and there was this lady and an older gentleman, and like he felt disrespected for some reason. We're just trying to get on our way. Like we asked him for a backpack, and he made like a comment, and then he ended up following us outside, and an altercation ended up transpiring with this gentleman, and one of my buddies ended up putting hands on this dude, and he totally demolished this dude. So no matter how much planning I had, or whatever, there was just certain times that things would happen and they were out of my control. Luckily, um, and I'm not sure what happened to the gentleman because we fled the scene and we took off, and we were not held accountable for those actions. But something like that could have easily ended with me going to YA, and you put yourself in situations sometimes uh, that you don't realize until years later. I was thinking about that this morning. 30 years later, and I'm like, man, like I really got lucky. Because some people weren't lucky. They first mistake and they ended up in some horrible places. So no matter what,
Yeah,
go
I
ahead. Go
tell
ahead.
my nephews, but whoever, these young kids here, like, I've been fortunate to be 45 and to make a whole bunch of stupid bad decisions and survive to tell. I've grew up with people where, like you said, they made one bad decision or one mistake, and that was the end of their life. So I mean, it's you really, anybody out there, whether they be, a teen or a young adult or even past a young adult. I mean, you really have to be mindful of the people that you surround yourself with and the positions that you put yourself in, because I mean, one bad decision, can lead to being in a place like this, and or even worse. I mean, believe it or not, there are worse places than prison. I mean, there's death. You know, so yeah. Actually, thinking about that, I was thinking about this quote from one of my favorite clinicians, Jordan B. Peterson. He has this book called 12 Rules for Life: An Antidote to Chaos, and he's a Harvard clinician from Canada, and he has 12 different rules in here, and the quote that I was thinking of was from rule number 3, which is make friends with people who want the best for you. You mind if I share that with you?
Absolutely, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Quote. Here's something to consider. If you have a friend whose friendship you wouldn't recommend to your sister or your father or your son, why would you have such a friend for yourself? You might say, out of loyalty. Well, loyalty is not identical to stupidity. Loyalty must be negotiated fairly and honestly. Friendship is a reciprocal arrangement. You are not morally obliged to support someone who is making the world a worse place. Quite the opposite. You should choose people who want things to be better, not worse. It's a good thing, not a selfish thing, to choose people who are good for you. it's appropriate and praiseworthy to associate with people whose lives would be improved if they saw your life improve. End quote. I love that portion because he puts an emphasis on choosing to surround yourself with positive people who are aiming upward, who are aspiring upward, who aren't pessimistic, who aren't backward thinking, and people who actually have a vested interest in seeing you do well. Those are the kind of people that I surround myself with now. And I think that it's difficult because a good person is an ideal. It's not easy. But I think that the more you surround yourself with people who are aspiring towards becoming better human beings, the better your life will eventually become.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think we're gonna have to brainstorm on that and how to figure out a way. Because I mean, when I was a kid, I didn't have any positive role models, and I wouldn't even know how to go about and look for somebody. During those times. I mean, and we're talking about this is ancient times. Where people are walking around with beepers and using payphones. But now it's a different time.
Right.
Everybody has a cell phone now. And it's practically a computer. So maybe we could figure out a way to guide people to a service, that has a positive role model. And if there's not something like that, maybe we could come up with something.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, Jesse and I, we're facilitators. I'm actually the co-coordinator for the Alternative to Violence Project here at Centinela. And I mean, these workshops are just absolutely transformative. I mean, so much so that Jesse and I, upon our release, we plan to take these workshops into the LA County Juvenile Probation Department and, down here his way and, really get in there and give these kids an opportunity to experience it. I mean, these workshops are like nothing I've ever seen before, and the effect that they have on people are just profound. And I mean, it's important for people to be mentored, and to be mentored by people not only from their community who look like them, but people with shared lived experience. We need that relatability, that connectability, to be able to reach out to someone who can see that you're coming from the same place, and it will help establish that trust and help pull somebody out of a bad situation, potentially.
If you guys are able to get into something like that, I'll definitely 100% want to participate in that. Obviously, I didn't go through
Absolutely.
a percent or 2% of what the time you've done, but uh, I could share an insight of what stopped me from progressing and continue down my path.
Absolutely.
I would share.
And you come from the same community, you come from the same community. So your voice is just as impactful, if not more. I mean, you've done it right, you've done it the right way, and you're reaching back now and making a difference. I mean, that's commendable right there.
Well, you know what? Gave me a jump start when the judge told me, "Mister, you have a collect call from. If you ever come back to my courtroom, the DA is feeling mighty generous. But let me tell you what, if you ever come back to my courtroom on a violation, I'm gonna max you out." And I would have been looking at a 3-year prison stay. And after that, I heard that I was like, I'm straight. I'm not cut out for prison. Let me be honest with myself, because I'm not cut out for prison. And I knew that, and that's why I stopped. I was like, you know what? I'd rather be on the streets making minimum wage than be in prison, listening to somebody else, the prison system and another man telling me
This
know,
call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
telling me who I could talk to, who can I talk to, and when to brush my teeth, or stupid stuff like that. So I decided to change my life, and and I'm not perfect. There should have been times when I should have been arrested, and for whatever reason, I was given breaks. And I'm glad that I did get those breaks, because I am where I am now, and my life is 100% different.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Well,
Well, that's our cue.
yeah. So if you wanna, drop a little gem before we cut the chat off, or the video, and we will continue. I'll go ahead and reach out to you via the GTL app. Don't forget, guys, download that app at $10, and you could be speaking to Silas but within minutes tonight.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank everybody out there for listening, and just implore everybody to take care of themselves and take care of those people that you love out there, and let's do what we can to brighten everybody's existence. Yeah, let's just love each other, and try and push this thing to the next level, and be more than who we are. And
All right, so we went ahead and went over the 60 seconds, so they went ahead and cut off the call. But anyhow, so we'll go ahead and I'm probably gonna bring some other gentlemen tomorrow. For sure, I'm gonna have one new gentleman coming on that you guys haven't heard from before, and then we're also gonna continue with another ongoing interview. So definitely, for sure, I'll have one person on for tomorrow, maybe two. So just stay tuned. Remember to just go ahead and make sure your notification is set up, so you're notified once we do go live. I typically try to go live either between 4 and 8 p.m. I'm gonna go ahead and try to set up some type of steady schedule, and I'll go ahead and post it up on the community post, so you guys are informed, and you guys don't miss out on these lives, if you guys are interested in listening to them, and possibly asking our guest some questions. And with that, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the stream, and I really appreciate it. And you guys go ahead and have a good night.